Hey babes, this is Tandem Orgasms, your go-to podcast on life coaching, owning your divine feminine power, and the far-out new age world of spirituality with your hosts, Caitlin Englert and Jen Morgan. Ladies, it's time to step into a new kind of confidence, one where you stop searching for and instead claim the balance you crave. Each week, we will bring you wisdom, personal experiences, and ridiculous banter that will have you laughing while also providing you with useful tools to transform your life from blah to turned on to your climactic inner diva.
Okay, guys, welcome to our first podcast. So this is Tandem Orgasms, and what we're going to talk about is many different things, including feminine power, weird stuff.
It's going to get real weird.
It's going to get
real weird.
You'll hear me go off on tangents. I'm Jen Morgan.
I'm Caitlin Englert.
And we created this podcast to help women step into new levels of confidence, to own their personal power, to have grounded tools to transform their lives, because there's so much out there, right? There's so much out there. There's so much information. And the thing is that finding your balance can actually be, I think, easier than what we see out there right now.
Yeah, we definitely complicate it in our heads, and we take our emotions and we attach a thought to them, and then we create this whole complicated situation, and it spirals.
Oh my God, I wrote something about that today.
And then we can't get out of it.
I wrote something about that today. Yeah, that's bonkers. I wish I could find it
because we're tandeming.
We're tandeming right now.
We're
tandeming and we're orgasming right now. It's happening. It's already happening. It's happening so quick.
So quick. I wasn't expecting it.
So we want to introduce ourselves a little bit to you guys because you guys are new to us and we're new to you. And we thought it would be kind of a fun way to go about this, just kind of conversationally. So asking each other questions. So Kate, what is it that you do right now? And tell us how you got there.
So I started as a therapist. I don't even know. God, it's been so long. Maybe 8 years ago. I started in the chemical dependency field. And then I just kept growing from there. I went and got my master's degree in social work. And after that, I was pretty much burned out. Master's degree. If you've ever been in a master's program, you know it sucks the life and the soul from you and leaves you with nothing when you're done.
Note to self.
Don't get a master's degree. Financially, emotionally, and physically, we'll take everything from you.
I'm going to stick with my 2 bachelor's degrees. Thank you very much.
So after that, I was completely burned out. My son was just born. Yeah, he was just born. And so I stayed at work another, I want to say, year or two. And I just knew my time had expired there. And so I had decided to stay home with the kids, which was a very dark time for me. And so about a year ago, I started transitioning and trying to figure out really how I could come back into the world of work. But I knew I wasn't meant for like a 9-to-5 job. And I really wasn't sure how to navigate that with 2 little kids. And they didn't have childcare, and it was very overwhelming. And so I played around with a lot of different ideas. I tried a lot of different things, and I saw them as failures. I felt like a failure. Everything I tried failed. Well, all those failures, which now I call stepping stones, led me into my coaching business. And it was really scary because I had been taught as a therapist that you don't talk about your personal experiences. You keep to yourself. You stay client focused. It's not about you. It's about them. And it felt very, very like in a box, very secretive. Like this whole life that I felt like I needed to share my message and my experiences and knowledge with other people. And there was like a wall that was telling me I couldn't do that. And so coaching, I stumbled upon, and really, I felt like gave me so much more freedom to just play and have fun and work with people in this new creative way that I had never done before, but always wanted to do. But I felt like in a way it was like less than because I had this master's degree and like
so
coaching.
You were using it.
Yeah. And I was like, I can't do like something less than my master's degree.
It's ego, right?
Ego. I was so much in ego. And so I just gave it time and I processed through a lot of that. And I just told myself, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
This feels right to me. And most likely nobody else cares except me. Like my own ego is preventing me from doing something amazing.
Yeah.
And I looked around and I did research into the coaching field and realized that was just so inaccurate. And so I really kicked this off. It started as like one niche and it just keeps unfolding. That's kind of where I'm at now. I work with women, mostly women, few men, individuals who are looking to break free of mental chains to help find joy and freedom in their life, as I have felt chained down for many years. And I feel like I have finally found that freedom because I moved from ego-centered into like the spiritual-centered place.
Do you feel like that you put this like place that you wanted to get to like up on this pedestal for so long, and then realizing that they're actually like, it's actually either simpler than you thought, or there are tools you could use that actually made that so much more approachable than you initially thought it was to like get to this place of like balance and like,
oh, I complicated the heck out of it.
Yeah.
I made it like this whole big thing in my head, and I'm such a perfectionist, and I felt like I can't start small. I have to start big. And I like made this whole big thing in my head, and it made me feel really overwhelmed. But meeting you and our paths crossing helped really open these doors for me to learn about a lot of other things. And looking back, I realized all those failures, quote unquote, that I thought were failures that were really stepping stones.
Because you thought it should look a certain way.
It should look a certain Yeah, exactly. But really, they gave me such a knowledge and a base that I have now that I utilize in my business.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an amazing thing, I think, when you find that. So from my perspective, I came into my coaching business in a completely non-clinical and unstructured way. So taking a completely different route and going this like finding myself as a spiritual person, coming back to my intuitive gifts in my 20s. And it's very much like, for me, I realize, and I'll kind of go backtracking on my story in a second, but is like the new age spiritual world kind of has this mentality of like, if you do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, or you buy this, if you do this program and you learn crystals and you figure out how to read cards and you like all of these things, you think like, oh, if I just do that, then I'm going to find myself. And then you realize that, and I think it's taken me so many years and exploring so many things to come up with these like super grounded approaches to like the person that you're trying to become, your higher self, your best version of yourself, whatever the hell you want to call it at the end of the day. It's not that far out of reach. If you make it out to be this thing that's so far out of reach, you will keep looking outside yourself in every single area. And really, that's within you. And it takes like this inner knowing and acceptance, like deeper acceptance to find that. It's not like a tool, and it's not like a, you have to do this thing. And it's not like a, it should look a certain way. It's like, hey, that is something that you can access and it's always within you. And I think it's kind of like this, we've built this whole like cultural thing around the spiritual world where it's like, if you get A, B, C, and D, then you're going to get to E. And it's like, dude, just fucking get to E.
Do you feel like you ever really get to E, or do you feel like it's a process of continuation?
I think it's a process of unlocking something that you already have and then saying, okay, how do I want to evolve from here? And meanwhile, accepting everything that you are, right? So it's like the more that you polarize one piece of who you are, the more you're going to keep searching. The more you accept all of those pieces of who you are, the more you're going to evolve. It's not to say that, you know, the tools aren't valid themselves. Like half of my platform is crystals, but it's to say that, you know, what you're seeking is inside of you. And sure, you know, you can use whatever tools you want to access that, you know, whatever's out there that resonates with you, right? And those things that resonate with you do help build your intuition, which helps build self-trust, like all good things, all things that are totally worthwhile. But it is to say, I will say that, you know, those tools, they're not there for like a sub-in to do the work that's within you, and to come back to the truest version of yourself and to be able to represent that in the world. Like the tool won't do that job for you. So now I'll kind of backtrack and I'll go back into my story of, you know, how I came to my business. And it really, you know, it was in a way that was pretty organic. So I've been in my business now for 8, 9, I don't know, 10-ish, actually like 10 years. And my process of that was not so linear. Although I did go to, you know, school in a linear fashion as well. It was more so me learning how to follow my intuition and helping me find alignment through what I call the breadcrumbs. And I tell everybody this, you know, it's like people ask me often like, oh, how can I get to like where you are, where you trust yourself, you trust your intuition, you know who you are, you feel aligned every day. And that process for me was following breadcrumbs. And breadcrumbs to me is essentially this kind of feeling where I would know that something was like saying, pay attention to me. Like people usually get like the first inkling of this when they get into, you know, some sort of like situation where it's almost like they hear like their either higher self or like something in their head say like, hey, like you could be driving in the car and something will tell you to stop, right? It'll be like, I think I should stop, right? And then all of a sudden somebody runs a light right in front of you that if you wouldn't have stopped, you know, you might have gotten in a car accident. You know, people have these things happen. And whether, I mean, that's an extreme scenario of that type of situation. But for me, it was like something nudging at me that would be like, pay attention to this. For some reason, pay attention to this. And so, you know, I did try on a lot of those spiritual tools and a lot of those spiritual hats, but they were nudged to me. It was, hey, you know, somebody inviting me to, you know, go to a Reiki appointment or a Reiki class. And I was like, I don't know what Reiki is. I'm like, raking, like I can go and rake in my yard. I don't understand what you're saying to me. But then that thing inside of me, my higher self or whatever you want to call it, your angels, your, you know, everybody has different feelings on different things, but is like, no, you got to do that. You got to do that. Right. And that was a breadcrumb. Like I don't really practice Reiki. Plenty of you out there, I'm sure do, but it was a breadcrumb to get me to where I was actually going to end up, which was, you know, one of my first steps. And I remember thinking like, this is important. I must do this. I have to, for some reason, I have to do this. And you know, those stepping stones, like you call them stepping stones, I kind of call them breadcrumbs. Like for you, you're like, okay, well, even I look at them now like stepping stones, they might've been failures. For me, it was like these weird nudges of like, what is that? Why do I want to do that? But I know I need to do it.
Well, and even though it's not like your final destination, because it's a journey, it's still giving you information that you need along your journey.
It's like this feedback system, spiritual feedback system that says like, hey, this might lead you to where you're going to go. Like, and you don't know why, but you learn to say yes. And so it's like, you know, breadcrumbs that aren't like Hansel and Gretel situation leading me to a weird witch's house, you know, not that type of thing, but it's still leading me somewhere. And I don't know where that is, but I've watched it unfold over and over and over. And my business over 10 years has morphed into, you know, where I started in this kind of yoga world. I actually walked into a studio. I remember I had come from the modeling industry, and I was very, very critical and very, very judgmental of myself. And most of my life had been spent wrapped up in this number, a number on the scale, really, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you weigh and what does it say about you, right? That's the game. That's the game I played every single day. So when I got out of the industry, I was like, I feel like I've put on some weight. And that was like really the only thing I knew, because my weight was a huge part of my whole world for so long. So I walked into this yoga studio and I was like, I hear yoga helps people lose weight. That was my motivation. But yet it was like, still, even in that was my motive. There was something that told me show up there. Right. And I started showing up there and I started going, and I was nervous and I was scared. And just like many people starting new things, I was like, why am I subjecting myself to this torture and anxiety of like, I know nothing and I don't know what I'm doing and this is terrible. But I just kept going. And I noticed when I kept going, my mentality around things shifted, and I started to focus on, I feel strong.
and I feel centered, and I'm starting to feel balanced, and I'm starting to be less critical. Like something's happening here. And I just kept following that. I just kept showing up. I kept saying yes until I had a teacher training mentioned to me. And I thought to myself, what, like, I never thought of teaching yoga, but like something tells me to do it. And that process turned out to be a lot of spiritual me going into all of my wounds, my damages, my, ways of ego was running my life, and especially the self-criticism that I had experienced for so long. And it was a lot of going through that stuff versus teaching the actual yoga, which was also taught to me. And so, it's like I started this like journey just by, I kept being asked, things presented. And I said, okay, that feels like, what does that feel like? That feels like yes. Okay, I'm going to do that. That feels like yes. And these weren't like easy decisions to make. Yoga teacher training cost a lot of money, right? But it was like this knowing, like, yes is yes. This feels like yes. Follow the yes. So I followed the yes, and I followed until, it got me to, really just, I will, for a while, similar to your story, I started letting my ego run the show a little bit somewhere midway with the yoga teaching, and was working at multiple studios and running a yoga festival by myself. And, my ego kind of took a little bit of control because I was trying to prove myself through those things at that point. And, just being in, I think that's like something that, 20 somethings do, is like, we will use our ambition, we'll use our drive to prove something to the world that we're really just trying to prove to ourselves. Like, to me, it was like, I can be successful. I'm successful. I'm a successful person. Yeah, meanwhile, I'm burning out.
I was going to ask you, do you feel like during that time in your life you were searching for something?
Yes, I was probably searching for the thing which was really within the breadcrumbs, right? It's like I was searching for, who am I really? I think everybody does that at some point, whether it's in your 20s or whether it's not in your 20s. It's like, who am I really? And along the way, I started to miss the gold, right? I started to focus on the thing instead of the real center point of it.
Yeah. And I can relate to that because I always was like striving to reach these accomplishments, whether it was finish a certification, get a new certification, get my master's degree, be a better therapist, like whatever it was, like or even like fitness related. Like I was always searching, and I felt like I needed those accomplishments to self-validate, to let myself know and the world know I'm okay.
Yeah,
I got this.
I love that. I'm okay. Okay. Yeah.
And then every time I would reach it, I would be like, yes, I'm awesome.
For 5 seconds, right?
For 5 seconds until I was on to the next thing. And then it's always like searching. Yeah. And like you said, it was like always within the breadcrumb, but I just saw the breadcrumb. I didn't see more to it.
And it's funny what happens when you go back and you look at it too, because it shifts your perspective, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I was totally trying to use this thing to prove this, but the nugget was like within it the whole time, and you just couldn't see it when you were right on it. And I've done the same thing. That's why if you look me up, you'll be like, oh my God, this girl has so many certifications, right? Because for a while I was like trying to do that kind of self-validating situation. But even in that was my motive, I was still nuggeting and still breadcrumbing, right? So it's like, I just didn't realize that. And so like my business now today has morphed many times from me following the breadcrumbs and then checking myself, honestly, just checking myself, like come back to why, like, why is this for ego proving? Is this for self-validation? Or is this for, really for me, it's about serving, and it's about me doing my calling. Like I know that when I follow the breadcrumbs, I'm doing what I'm supposed to, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to in this world, which is essentially helping people to come back to the truest form of themselves and release any self-limitation, which can come from childhood wounds, patterns, which can come from trauma, which can come from programming, which happens societally, and karmic debt too. And so it's like that's what I'm here to do. And so when I follow the breadcrumb, I look at the breadcrumb now and I say, okay, don't put a little shell of ego around this. Like stay with the gold in the inside. Serve.
Yeah. And when you burn yourself, or when you're ego centered, you will always burn yourself out.
You're using your your experiences to self-validate, because I think most of us don't learn how to do that when we're young. We don't learn how to like have the confidence and the self-esteem essentially. So we start doing all of these things. So, you know, I'm like running around from studio to studio, managing all this stuff. And at the end of the day, it was really more so, even though it spiraled into something that was magical, it was like I had this need to like prove that I was like successful. Like I was this successful person who could manage all these things and was like the best of the best. And then it kind of just really ultimately made me spiral out of control. I think more so I was like, okay, I'm exhausted. Like when I got pregnant with my son, I was like still practicing like every single day. Like I wasn't listening to my body. I was like in headstands up until the day I literally like I was at the studio in a headstand and like gave birth the next day. Like it was like,
did you give birth in a headstand?
I should have. I don't know if that's possible. Yeah. I'm going to give it a go. Maybe.
I feel like I could picture you like giving birth like against the tree in the woods.
Yeah.
Like that tree in your backyard.
Oh my God.
Like squatting against the tree and giving birth.
I want that experience. I think I should have that. I think everyone deserves that experience if it's not like in water.
That is the natural way.
I want to hold my tree and like be like, please
hold the tree. Oh, so you'd like hug the tree?
Yeah.
Not put your back to it.
Oh yeah. Just the other day I was wow, we're going off on a tangent. We're going there. Yeah. I had a magical moment with my tree the other day. I went out there, it was night. It was with the new moon. And I was just like, usually I sit out there and I sit at the base of the tree, but this time I was just embracing the tree and the tree was embracing me. And I was like, we were having a magical, like it was mothering me. My tree was mothering me. Is that weird?
I don't think that's weird, but I do have a question because you were talking about how you were upset that the branches got cut.
Oh yeah.
Without your permission.
That was a situation.
So do you feel like the tree is still able to do its job even though it had some transformation done to it?
Yes. I'm still not over that though. So my tree.
That's another episode.
Yeah. Perhaps. My tree was cut unwillingly. She did not give permission and it was a thing for a while. And she's okay now, but it's fine.
We need to talk about like, I think my daughter has things with trees because I looked out back. Well, sometimes she thinks she has like the parts of a boy.
Oh, okay.
But so she does try to like pee outside like my son, but it doesn't work that well, clearly. So I look out back at my mom's house the other night. And she was taking a squat against the tree. And I said, what are you doing? She said, I have to poop really bad. So I think she is also one with nature.
You know what? I think that trees are important. And this could be, a tree could be a breadcrumb for you, for all of you listeners out there. Perhaps there's a tree and you go touch a tree or poop on a tree. You might find yourself. Enlightenment
you
is found.
Will feel more connected to nature, I promise
Enlightenment is found at the base of a tree. Fact.
I need to go out and do
Buddha
that.
Sat at the base. Okay, now we're into something. Okay. Anyways, we'll come back to that. I think I'm going to do that. We'll have a 40-day challenge.
I have a quick question, though, about this breadcrumb thing.
Yes.
Okay. So you're just chugging along, following your breadcrumbs, picking them up, eating them as you go.
And it does not lead me to a creepy house if that's where you're going.
No,
okay.
But what if there is another breadcrumb trail?
Oh, an alternative one going in a different direction.
Or, have you ever heard of like shiny object syndrome?
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay.
You know, like how do you know if you're just following this shiny object or really like maybe that is the detour you need to take?
Okay. So difference between shiny object situation, right? This could be like, we could equate this to like in the spiritual world, right? It's like, oh my God, there's this new thing and everybody's doing it, right? That's shiny object. When you're following a breadcrumb, yeah, it's like
major.
And for years it was like this, like the landscape was very much like that. It was like, now everybody's doing this and now everybody's doing this. It's like a FOMO situation, you know, it's like fear of missing out. Like you got to
I don't have FOMO. I mean, sometimes I have FOMO, but really I heard this term called JOMO, joy of missing out. Do you have that?
I don't understand.
JOMO? Like you have joy in not being a part of something.
Right? I feel like I've switched from FOMO to JOMO.
I think that's healthy. That feels healthy.
It does feel healthy.
That does not feel toxic. That feels untoxic. That feels the opposite of toxic. It feels really, really healthy. I think you need to have JOMO.
I've transitioned into JOMO because I just got to this place where I was completely exhausted of Like if something came up or someone needed me, I would rearrange my entire schedule to say yes. But then I started learning that people don't do that in return. And I would get angry about it, but I also had to check myself and realize I can't have those expectations of people just because my fear of missing out allowed me to do that. And so take ownership of it. And I feel like now that I have really been walking this journey of self-discovery in the last year or so, I mean, over the course of many years, but really in this last year, I've transitioned into like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I said no.
Yeah.
It's like, it is.
So there's a thing that we used to say, which was a no can be a yes. So saying no to someone can be a yes for yourself.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So
that's a good way of thinking about it.
It's like
that's a tidbit. Put that one in your back pocket.
Tidbit.
Little tidbit.
But it's like setting boundaries, right? So like as females, and we'll go back to breadcrumbs in a second. We're breadcrumbing in this direction.
We have many breadcrumbs.
So as being, I think, a female in the culture that we are in, we were kind of put with this expectation of doing what we should and doing what we ought to, like all of these ways of saying it, right? Which is really just, you need to say yes, and you need to be a martyr, and you need to be self-sacrificing, and you need to put others first, and you need to, it's like all of these levels of like forgetting about yourself and do what supports everybody else, right? It's like, and I think with becoming a mother, I think that becomes part of it too. It's like, oh no, like I'm putting myself on the back burner. I'm saying yes to everyone. I'm saying yes to everything. So I look like I have it all together. And the more that you, I think, say yes to things because you ought to or you should, the less alignment you actually find with saying yes to things you actually believe in or bring you joy or because you desire. So that is one of the things that I focus on in my teaching, because I think it is a grounded approach for people to say, okay, there's a level of misalignment that has been caused from me just saying yes because. So asking yourself, why is it that I'm saying yes to this? Is it because I actually want to? Does it align with I always think of like, okay, so one of the things I started doing recently is like, if I am in integrity with the direction that I want to go with my life, and the person that I see way down there, like the Jen down there, she's a boss fucking bitch, okay? She's not gonna
You are now.
But I'm even more in the future Jen. She's fucking cray. She's like on fire. I see her. I acknowledge her. I welcome her, and she's.
You're not ready for her quite yet.
Because she's a lot. She's a queen. She's a queen.
She's like that picture that you showed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She's intense, you know.
Yeah, I was a little scared of that one.
Yeah, she's a little.
But she's cool. Yeah.
Fire, you know. But it's like, would that Jen say yes to this in my current reality? Would that Jen, I'm saying, I commit to her. I know she's coming. I'm in integrity with her even now, even though I'm not there yet. What would she do? Like, it's like, what would Jesus do? People say that.
So people are going to say, what would Jen do?
Be like, what would my boss bitch Jen do right now? Would she say yes to this? Or would she not even give it the time of day? And that's how I feel about, it's like, oh, drama? No, ain't nobody got time for that. Like saying yes because I feel like people please, nobody's got time for that. Right? It's like, nobody's got time for that.
Well, the thing is that we all have that boss bitch inside of us.
Yeah.
We're just scared to show her.
Yeah.
She is terrifying. We're a little scared of her.
She's cool as hell.
She's cool as hell. And people will, if we can use it in the right way, you know, that doesn't mean that you need to be an actual bitch and just stomp over people.
No, but
and
it's knowing your boundaries. And
yes.
Your alignment to yourself. You are. The way I like to look at it is like, I am so committed to her. Like, she's like my higher essence, my higher self. Like, I'm so committed to her and what she's here to do on this earth that I'm not going to misalign myself to that. Like, I'm not going to redirect and move in a different direction because like, I'm so committed to her. Like, I'm married to her. She's my babe. She's like my everything. I'm committed to her. It's like in every action and every choice, I'm like, what would she like do? It's like, I'm committed to her. I'm committed to her being here. I'm committed to the work she's doing. So everything I do. And so bringing us back to breadcrumbs, right? It's like, I know when something's shiny object syndrome because she does not care about shiny objects. Okay. She might like
like shiny things.
She might have some Louis
She's not going to
Vuitton.
stop for them.
You know, she might want to take a little trip to Louis Vuitton now and then. Okay. But it's not, she doesn't even need that for her alignment. She doesn't need a shiny object. She doesn't need new tarot cards. She doesn't need any of that shit. She doesn't need a book. She knows who she is, right? So when I have a breadcrumb, it's my intuition saying and feeling that thing within my body that's like, this is your arrow. This is the next step. It's not, this is something that's going to bring me temporary joy. It's, this is what you're here to do. Or it's the tiniest little thing that ultimately gets me to that, right? It's like, I had this moment today where it was like, oh my God, that's why this happened, right? It's like those moments.
You've been having a lot of those moments lately.
She's coming down my back. She's like right there.
How cold is that coffee?
It's from a long time ago. Yeah.
That's gross.
I'm going to drink it until
that's nasty.
It's got like about
It probably has some mold in it.
It's
so old.
It's
got mold. It's so old.
It's from 11 o'clock and it will be good until tomorrow at 5 p.m. in my books.
That's nasty. So there's something wrong with you.
I will leave it in the car and it will be fine because it's cold, but it's not cold anymore. So it will be warm. So also, therefore, it will be fine because it will cook.
Does it have cream in it?
It's got oat milk in it.
How do you not like throw up? Because that's gross.
It's lukewarm right now. Would that make you vomit? Do you want me to drink it? Will it do something to you? No,
because I'm not the one drinking it, but it's just so crazy to me.
I don't understand.
You probably save money though drinking like old moldy coffee all the time.
Sure do. You know what the thing is? I just can't bear to like have any coffees go to waste because coffee is like more than just a caffeine situation to me. It is like an essential part of my being. I enjoy the culture around it. It brings me the happiest memories. If I'm upset, I drink coffee. If I'm happy, I drink coffee. If I'm in a foreign country, I'm drinking coffee. I'm sitting in a coffee.
No, I'm there with you. I'm the same way.
I can't
bear. But like a hot or a nice fresh iced coffee is what brings me the joy, not moldy old coffee.
I can't bear for like 1 second.
You're not judgmental. I'm judgmental.
Yeah.
I only like my coffee hot or freshly iced.
I can't tell if you're judging me or my coffee choices or my coffee. And
I'm judging a little bit of both. Your coffee choices and your coffee.
In any case, I feel unseen and unheard. And I feel like
I'm insecure. I'm so insecure.
You're making me feel sad.
I'm sorry.
In my soul.
I'm
because
sorry.
Here's the thing. Somebody has to be the person that's that committed to coffee that like one drop cannot be wasted. I am that person. I will not do that to coffee. My commitment to coffee and the experience that it brings me is very, on the bad days with a crying baby, coffee saved me, not anyone else. Okay. Not anyone else. I was like, if I stay in this house for one more second with this child, I am going to rip my soul out purposefully because I can't handle my life.
I get that.
And then I'm like, okay, pack the baby, get to the coffee shop. If you get to the coffee shop,
life will be great.
Will be okay. It will. It's like, okay, we know that there's like a temple. It's a temple. Just get to the temple and all will be revealed. That's coffee. You get to the temple, you get to the Starbucks, you get to the whatever, and you're like, my baby might be crying. I cannot hear myself think, and I kind of want to just rip my soul out of my chest because my experience is killing me right now. And then you get to Starbucks and you're like, I'm okay. It's
life's good.
And you're not even and you see the line, and the line is like 30 minutes.
That's why you pre-order.
And no,
you're not a reward star.
I don't understand that. It's too much for me.
You're wasting your life if you are not a reward member of Starbucks. Okay, you get stars for every purchase, and then you get free coffee.
Waiting is part of the experience for me. It's like,
you still can get your stars though if you wait. Like you can still wait if you really want to. If you're not in that hustle life.
Sometimes I get a free coffee for my birthday.
Yeah, but that could happen literally all year. Like you could have something what feels like your birthday all the time.
How many times am I going to get a free coffee in a year?
A lot. Depends on how many times you go to Starbucks. Like me, I probably get a free coffee every week because I go to Starbucks so much.
Non-drinking moldy
coffee. I think my husband's putting me on a budget, and Starbucks is going to have to be one of those conversations, but I'm avoiding it.
Because I'm avoidant. I will not have this conversation. Meanwhile, I'm over here drinking moldy coffee and ain't no thing.
Yeah. You know what really bugs me though? Like what really gets my gears going?
What really grinds my gears?
Yeah. What really grinds my gears is really big turnoff is when I go to Starbucks and get a coffee for someone and they only drink a little bit of it. Like, what is wrong with you?
Like the time that I did that and put it in our fridge and drank it the next morning?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was turned off.
Are you speaking directly to me?
No, I'm actually thinking specifically of somebody else that like buys all these drinks or like fancy coffees and they drink like a quarter or a half of it. Like you just spent like $5.56 on that latte. I mean, I don't really drink lattes. I go the Americano route because it's like $2 cheaper.
Yeah.
And then I have them like jazz it up a little.
A little bit of jazz.
But it's $2 cheaper.
Yeah.
That's how I'm staying within my budget.
How can I budget?
I go in like these phases where I'm like, okay, I got to tighten things up. I got to stay strict. And then I have a friend who will be like, it's fine. Your husband doesn't care. He can afford. I know I just hit my head on that. I'm okay. You guys can afford it. It's fine. You can afford $3.48 for a coffee every other day.
She'll be like, you can afford
and drive 25 minutes to get your Starbucks because there is no Starbucks on this side of town.
She's like, you can afford a $7 drink and you definitely need the venti.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Or they have one above venti.
Trenta.
Oh, I remember the first time I heard about a Trenta.
You're like,
I bought Trentas all the time, but not in a coffee. I bought it in like their refreshers.
That's a must because there's a lot of ice in there. And I'm like, light on the ice.
Light on the ice.
They do not get that.
I got the oat milk, like espresso thing yesterday. There was like only a quarter. Yeah.
Skimping on the oat milk, man.
Yeah, the whole cup was ice. I was a little pissed.
There was a whole oat milk shortage for a while. Every time I went to go find some oat milk, it was gone. I was like, what is happening here? And then lo and behold, like a week later, Starbucks comes out with some oat milk. I was like, oh,
now you got the oats.
Oh, no, because Starbucks took the whole friggin' market share of the oat milk.
Oh, they took that.
They just bought them all. Any oat milk company, they bought it. They're like, yeah, this is ours now. The only way you're going to get your oat milk is if you come and get this from Starbucks now. You don't even deserve to have it in your own home.
Yeah, not allowed. Only come to Starbucks.
We're unworthy.
I'm unseen. And I'm unwanted and I'm unloved.
Thanks, Starbucks.
Thanks, Starbucks, for crushing my soul. No, really, Starbucks, you actually bring a lot of joy to my soul.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm sorry if anyone out there is a Starbucks hater. I understand
there are so
partially why, but like I just can't. Like every time I go somewhere else, I am such a brat with my coffee. Like they always make it wrong. And I have this expectation that it's going to be like Starbucks and it's not. And then I have to complain and be that person. And I'm like, why can't you just make it like Starbucks?
You know what really grinds my gears is when, if you don't do regular milk and there are different steaming points for different milks because they get frothy at different points. Okay.
I had this conversation with my mom yesterday.
Oh, I am not about some almond milk that tastes like some slime. Okay. Because or we're boiling it so hot that it's burning my face.
My almond milk froths well.
Yeah. But everywhere I go,
they don't.
No, it's disappointing. The only
Starbucks does it right.
The only two consistent ones that I can get are oat milk and soy milk that froth the right way. Everywhere else, I like coconut milk. Oh God, no. It's like
I just died a little.
It's like drinking snot. I don't want to drink snot.
But why? You drink moldy coffee.
Yeah.
So drinking snot is really a little bit comparable.
Because I can drink this lukewarm and it's still not snotty.
So what is the difference between mold and snot? Like the texture.
It's a little bit of a chunk.
Ew, that's gross.
It's a little chunky. You get a little.
Okay, the takeaway from today is drink hot, fresh coffee. Don't listen to Jen. And drink moldy, snotty coffee.
If you listen to Jen.
Don't listen to Jen.
So
every mom out there deserves a nice, fresh cup of coffee, hot or cold.
That costs $7 and will make your husband hate you.
Yes. Make your husband or wife put you on a budget.
The moral of the story is your first podcast you will record and you will fail.
You will fail.
You will fail and
It'll cut off at 4:59 every single time.
And you will have poor quality to the point where it cannot be edited.
And then you throw a tantrum.
And then you just talk about coffee. And you don't take my advice about coffee, but you take Kate's advice about coffee.
Because Kate has the best
advice. You make your
advice.
husband hate you and you go on a budget. Done.
Perfect. Life solved.
Problem
It's simple.
solved. That's what it is. And now we know. Because it's Mike's super short show, but it's not Mike, it's Jen and Kate.
Thank you guys. That's all the time that we have for today. We really appreciate you chiming in and listening to today's episode. And if you liked it, please share on Instagram, share with all your friends. We would really appreciate all the love.
If you have a topic that you want us to cover, definitely reach out to us on one of our social media handles, and we might just do a special podcast for you.
See you next week.
Bye, guys.
For more information on this episode, check out the show notes. Don't forget to follow us at Jen_Morgan and Caitlin.Engler.coaching for updates. If you love this episode, take a screenshot and share to your Instagram stories. And don't forget to tag us. Until next time, have fun and don't forget to pleasure yourself.